Kravets. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravets, along with a very special guest from Dubai Racing TV. He wears many hats. He's simply one of the best international analysts in the world, Mr. Michael Adolphson. Michael obviously is at Del Mar as we speak with a beautiful background. Michael, thank you very much for joining the podcast as we're going to talk about the 19 Japanese runners, a huge contingent from Japan this year.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's great to be back here. Otherwise, it'd be a really, really expensive green screen, but it's going to be just a hell of a showdown here. We got 3 different continents, and obviously the Japanese are coming in strong. And those 19, I mean, you can make a case for at least 3/4 of them.
Yes, I know you've been putting some video out on X of horses in the morning. Of course, you're there at Del Mar, and you know the international runners very well, especially the horses come from the Middle East and Japan and really all over. We're here to focus on the Japanese runners, Michael. I know we're relatively short on time here as we're taping this about literally 45 minutes before or an hour before the actual draw occurs on Monday. So let's jump right in, Michael, because I know our viewers and listeners would love to hear your opinion. We're going to go in race order, Michael. Feel free to talk as long or as short as you'd like on the horses, and we might have time to show a replay or two. We'll see. Let's jump right in. You'll see on the screen, of course, the past performances, Michael. Let's first talk about what I think is one of the possible winners coming from Japan this year. I like this horse quite a bit. Akoro Sieg in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. Very talented, very fast.
Yeah, he's just very quick, but it is going to be a different. They are usually pretty good out of the gate in Japan, but it's always a different story here, and you just really have to be out and going. He is quick enough, I think, to stack up against anything in the race. Can he get it done? Possibly. I think he might be a little bit overbet. So he's one of those Japanese that where you. You like on paper if it was just a card game and you had to pick the winner, but you're not going to get a lot of value on the international market. He's the co-favorite right now, and I think that he's got a big chance. He's one of those horses of the Japanese who can win, and he might even bolt up. He's got the right rider, obviously, in Lemaire, but if you're looking for value, it's hard to go with him.
Yeah, 107-1. That is, I don't care where you're racing. That is the fastest six furlong 2-year-old time, I believe, in the history of the JRA. So this horse sold for a lot of money at the OBS sale. Very well, man. If he can break Michael, I think he's got a big shot. But you're right about the betting, and we are going to talk about all these horses. But very quickly, I believe last year, bettors from Japan bet $20 million in only 4 races. So, Michael, you know the Asian market likes to bet. And like you said, you're probably going to get a lot of underlays on these Japanese horses, won't you?
Yeah, and I think he does stack up. You're going to have some horses that some of the Japanese are going to be overbet. But, personally, my selection in the race at this point is probably going to be a UK-based horse in Big Mojo. But and he'll be bet, but I think he'll drift. That one will drift as a value in the U.S. market. So I'm kind of capitalizing on opposite biases. But yeah, Akoro Sieg can definitely win. Hideyuki Mori is a legend. He's got a few in the Breeders' Cup this year, and a lot of people don't know him. He was the first trainer to ever send over a horse to America to race. He sent over a ski captain, I think it was 1997 or 98, to run in the or early 2000s to run in the Kentucky Derby. And he's always been keen on it, but now he's really getting some serious backers as far as owners go back again. He used to have the Yoshidas behind him, but he's got Haramura in here. He also has the owner of Forever Young backing him as well. So yeah, he's back in the game in a big way, and he's always been supporting U.S. sales. So if he wins, it's kind of a win for the U.S. as well.
Oh, that's very exciting. We know, of course, the great Sunday Silence stood in Japan and was one of the key factors to their breeding program years ago. Let's talk about American Bikini, Michael. This is a fascinating filly by American Fair out of a Bernardini mare. Has already won twice. Has not gone past 7, but the breeding says she can do it. And frankly, the juvenile American filly 2-year-olds don't impress me that much. I think this one could be very interesting in that race.
Yeah, she was fast enough to go 57-1, as you see there in her maiden, and then come back a couple months later after some of the hot months have faded off, and come back and break the 2-year-old course record at Chukyo. It's just left-handed dirt course, very sandy, very deep. So she can get over a 7-furlong deep course. She can probably handle going over 8.5 here. I think she'll get hammered at the windows personally, not only because of the general public that doesn't know a lot of racing liking her name, but also the international public. Like, this is Silk Racing. This is Katsumi Yoshida's, one of his syndicates. Highly tied to Northern Farm, one of the most powerful operations in the world. Sunday Racing, etc. It's all like a big family with under Katsumi Yoshida. And this is a daughter of obviously American Pharaoh, but with like blinding speed under her and stamina later in her pedigree. So
on the
like
downside, yeah, she's
gonna be right there. And I think that we're kind of transitioning into Otomina Shacho, who's also in there. She stuffed her like a turkey a couple of races ago, and I think that she's just a superior filly to that one.
Yes, there is another entrant in there. I shouldn't give that one short shrift. And American Bikini is going to take a lot of money. Again, for those of you listening and watching, let value be your guide. I mean, sure, yeah, American Bikini can win, but don't take too low a price would be my main recommendation. Let's go on to the juvenile. Actually, sorry, I want to go to the juvenile. Yeah, the juvenile, excuse me. 2 horses in there, Akoro Zell and Shin Believe. We can be a little more brief on this one. I honestly don't think either one has got a great shot. Shin Believe to me is the more interesting of the two.
Well, Shin Believe, his run was visually very impressive. He went in there and ran 9 furlongs, 154. It wasn't fast, but the way he did it was very smart. This is Susumu Fujita, owner of Forever Young, with Hideyuki Mori, who is one of the best 2-year-old trainers in Japan, and we already mentioned it before. They've got this one spot on, and I just think that they'll have him ready to run a big race. Remember, Hideyuki Mori brought a horse with even less prospects to him a few years ago and finished 4th and 5th in this race. So yes. I think he's a big top 3, top 4 chance.
Really? Now I think he's probably going to be a closer, right? I sort of feel like I do feel like Michael Race has to fall apart a bit for this horse to be a factor. And if you like closers, you got to like Chance McPatrick. So obviously I respect your opinion, but the track might not suit. But he could be a very interesting Kentucky Derby hopeful next year. I don't know about this Friday personally.
And for me also, I think he'll be a little more forward than people think. He'll break running with a little bit more stamina. He has a constitution, and they usually get a little bit of boot under him. But to me, it's just going to be it's a big ask for him, but I think they sent him for a reason. As far as Akora Zell,
yes,
this is a horse with a lot of pace. He's going to be a huge pace factor in here if he breaks. He looks like Chancelot. He has that Chancelot speed, and I feel like he's going to be right up there in the beginning. If they let him go, remember, I mean, this race at Del Mar, it's this mile and a 16th distance. It's very difficult to reel him in, so he might stick around longer than expected.
Wow. Okay.
But I mean, it's going to be very difficult to beat some of these horses who are going to be like East Avenue, who's right above him right there. East Avenue is going to can sit 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and still win this race.
Of course. Yeah, twirling candy on the downside there for Akora Zell. Maybe this horse will go turf at some point. Very interesting entrant. Let's go to the Juvenile Turf, which I think is a very difficult race this year. I really don't think there are any standouts unless you just think New Century is just going to win very easily. Satono Carnival is 2 for 2. Has been doing it sprinting. Has not gone 2 turns. But I'll tell you what. This is the sire Akita-san Black, excuse me. So obviously has every right to get some more distance, and he's looked excellent.
Yeah, and he's out of a numerous mare who was, numerous obviously ran. I think he won. What did he win the Derby trial? And was incredibly well bred on the very much related to Nureyev. But for me, this horse, he's going to stretch out fine. I thought his prep in the Hokurate Nisei over 6 furlongs was far better than he looks on paper. Like, it was just very impressive, and he did it well within himself. And it was Group 3 company, so in 109-1. So I mean, the only thing that it really knocks against him is that it's been a big break for him. So he's going to have to be really fresh and really ready to go. Noriyuki Horii is a very good trainer; he can get it done, but it's a big ask against a field that I think it's not wide open because for lack of talent. It's wide open because we have a lot of decent Group 2, minor Group 1 potential types in there, and I think that New Century is good to love. I think he'll be very tough in there, but the Appleby pair for me is incredibly hard to look past, and I think Mori City's gonna win the race.
Interesting. Well, and actually, I heard about a very important booking. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Morris City is going to be William Buick on, from what I understand. And the jockey bookings matter, Michael. Again, we're being pretty brief with this show today, but you got to pay attention to the jockey bookings. If you know who's first call for these monster stables, that makes a huge difference to me. I'm assuming it makes a difference to you. In other words, Buer versus Doyle, for example, etc.
I love it though, because here, as opposed to the UAE or the UK or anywhere in Europe, where they have to choose before the draw.
Yeah.
So sometimes you see them choose a good draw with a B- horse and still wind up losing to the A+ horse who drew the bad draw. So pardon the tractors in the background. They're about to make
problem.
But
I love the real ambiance of it.
The excitement's real, even that part. But yeah, I think that this will be, the jockey bookings make a difference, especially pre-draw, and that's one of the reasons. I mean, that wasn't the reason I chose Mori City before William decided earlier today, but I just think that the horse fits the bill and kind of fits the kind of horse that we often see Charlie send here. As far as the Japanese go, I think Satono Carnival could easily go top 3 in this race. Like, wow. Easily.
You seem to be very keen. You fancy a lot of these Japanese runners, Michael. And I know you wouldn't just say that. We're all a little bit provincial, right? We all like horses we've seen, but you seem very high on a lot of these Japanese horses, which is flattering to them, obviously.
Well, luckily with this one, at least in this singular category, it was a group affair, so there was a time form rating, and the 92 is quite strong for a horse in July.
Yes.
So that to me says if he can overcome the time off and it sets him up properly, then he's gonna love every bit of the mile.
Let's go on to Saturday. Alice Verite. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. Alice Verite, it looks like it's going to Distaff. We're going to find out in an hour. When people watch this, they're going to already know. Do you fancy Alice Verite at all to maybe upset the Grizzly Bear, or at least be in the money in the Distaff?
Yeah. She's interesting. So she's a Kazuna. Kazuna has produced a very, very good multi-surface horse who loves the dirt named Bathrat Leon, who won the Godolphin Mile over on my side of the world. She's out of a Cozine mare, but that entire bottom line is all dirt horses. So it's interesting that they put her in this race, and they're striking her back in distance. She's a one-trick pony. Like, she goes to the front and she wings it. She would be the pace in the Distaff, and on this track she could last a whole lot longer than expected. So, and remember, I think that this race is going to be run more toward the middle of the day, and the track to me might be a little more speed favoring that time, or at least a little drier and hotter, so it'd be hard to close. So yeah, I think that she's a good chance in the Distaff to run well. Awesome Result, I think, is a superior horse and is actually my selection to win the race.
Wow. Well, we'll talk about this Justify filly. I mean, Justify, Michael, I'm assuming you've seen him in person at Stud at Coolmore. I got to tell you, Michael, I love going to the farms in Lexington. I live in Chicago, but when I go to Lexington, I like going to the farms. Of all the stallions I've seen in my lifetime, and you've seen a lot more than I have, just because I haven't been to as many farms as you have, I got to tell you, Justify is the most beautiful looking animal I have seen. He is huge. He's a beautiful colt. I mean, he is some specimen. It's no surprise to me that his offspring are running giant right now.
And they're doing extremely well. To me, they are sometimes a little bit better on grass than they are on the dirt. But we've seen plenty do really well in the dirt, especially like Awesome Result, who has a completely dirt bottom line there with a deputy minister mare. She's really good if you watch her replays, she's one of those ones where she'll sit behind the pace or at least a few lengths back. And the moment that Yutaka asks her, she grabs that bit like an animal, and just runs. She's ready to go. And then she kind of looks around when she gets to the front and coasts home because she hasn't really been tested. Even in the Empress High, she kind of always had it in the bag at Kawasaki. So I think she's untested. I think she's going to be very handy in this race, sitting probably third, fourth, fifth, mid-pack, and Yutaka's going to make a run and hopefully get his, I think it would be his first Breeders' Cup, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to, as we're talking here, I'm trying to get the replay from, what is it, May 8th, if I can show it here. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got the, let's show the August, I got the August 27th replay I can bring up here, again, as I'm got it on the side here. I'll just show everyone so we can see the stride of this horse. Oops, let me just doing a few things.
She's pretty special
here. Yep, let me get it up right here. Okay, it's going to be coming up. Oh, there it is. Actually, sorry about that. Didn't want to show the rest of it, but just talk about this horse. I believe you'll let us know where this horse is right now. Let me fast forward a little bit. They're showing
she's right there in the green. She's the 11 in the green and white silks on with and this is the same silks that finished second a few years ago in the at this track 3 years ago in the turf with Broom. No, this is. Just watch her grab the bit. She just puts them away, and then she kind of is looking around right here. She's not seeing what's going on. She's like, "Where did all my friends go?" And she's still just traveling. He keeps her to business here, but to me, I think she's just gonna. This might not be the perfect track for her, but I think she's handy enough to make herself known. And I think she's full of talent. The way she reaches and the way she covers the ground, she's a typical Justify in that respect.
Yeah, she did that really easily. Now, in terms of speed figures, I know there's some quasi-buyer kind of figures out there that some people have. Michael, for the inexperienced handicapper or for just even the average handicapper, when they look at the PPs and they don't see a time form or a buyer, you can watch replays. But I mean, this is why we have you on to tell us how fast. I mean, she looks great, but how fast do you think she really is the question.
Well, I think that there are a few references to kind of guesstimate where she's landing, right? She's beating. This was the best race for her class to run against in Japan, and she smacked him around. I think she's probably better than Marsh Lorraine, who came over and won 3 years ago over this track. That race obviously imploded, but she has more gears than Marsh Lorraine did, and I think that she's undefeated for a reason. She just keeps on finding a way. And she really hasn't been tested, and everything has been over a distance of ground. She's not going to get tired in some of these fillies if it becomes a bit of a contested race on the front. When you have all these stalkers in the race, which you seem to have, sometimes we get a little bit of pace up front that we don't expect. And I think that's exactly what she needs. So I have a lot of respect for the Torpedo Anna and the campaign she's had. I would love to see her just bolt off and win by 10 and the crowd go insane. It's great for racing, but there's zero value there. And she's going up against a filly who's very, very talented in all sorts.
I'm seriously looking. I'm playing the BCBC, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, a big live money tournament. I'm seriously considering a Torpedo awesome result, just cold punch exacta. I don't know if I would get 4 or 5 to 1 on that, but I think that's a very likable play for me. Let's go to the turf. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I say, and there's also like just no way in hell that Chad Brown's out of the top 3 in there. I just think that he always, in the Distaff especially, it's
Raging Sea
always run big. So Raging Sea, well, I think that's your try right there.
Okay, there we go. All right, Michael, we got a bunch of horses to talk to in about 10 minutes. Let's go through this quickly. Roshan Park and Shahryar. We know Shahryar. This is the Breeders' Cup Turf, which I think is completely wide open this year.
Yep.
And no monsters at all coming from Europe. We had Aiden on the show, actually. He talked about some of his runners. Of the two, Shahryar's could take more money. But I think there's reasons to like Roshan Park. I know he didn't run great last time, but I'll tell you what, the race in the Osaka High last year, we're not going to show the replay. It was a very slow pace early. He made a crazy wide middle move, something else never see, and rushed up all the way to third and almost held on. He's got numbers, Roshan Park, we'll show right now, that would fit if he could run his best in this race. I think he's fascinating here, Michael. I really
his best run is top 3 in here. This is a wide open race. He's just got to get up there and deliver his very best. Shahryar is consistent. He's very good. He's going to run well. He was very unlucky last year. I think last year was his chance to win, and just didn't work out. He kind of got shut off. DeMuro is a good friend of mine, and he was not happy after that race. But I mean, and rightfully so. He just got beat to the punch by Moore on that day, and Moore got the win with Auguste Rodin. But you know, he had a decent prep. He had a really good run behind Rebels Romance, and they've all got to beat Rebels Romance at this point.
Sure.
Out of the two, I'll take Roshan Park because you'll get more value, and I feel like he has a much better kick than Shahryar does.
Well, and that's interesting because I think there's really not a lot of closers in the foreigners. I mean, Luxembourg wants to be forward. JRB wants to be forward. I mean, not like crazy speed, but I'm desperately looking for a closer in this race. You think Roshan Park is a better closer than Shahryar, correct?
Yeah, he's just got, but remember, he's also a bigger horse. He's very leggy. He needs to kind of get out in like a Yabir style, like get out the back and swing around. And if he's able to do that and unleash, then it's going to be really fun. But you know who's also going to want to do that? Rebels Romance. Rebels Romance want that trip. And is he going to beat Rebels Romance? I don't think so. Rebels Romance is a head taller than all these horses with a stride about 2 feet longer. And if he opens up and puts on a show, that would be great. But
yeah, he's been campaigned unbelievably, Michael, this year with great Group 1s in different countries, not just Group 1s. Just incredible.
He's a big factor, and I think the three that I like in that race are Roshan Park, Rebels Romance, but on top, I'm going to put Luxembourg.
Yeah, that's actually my top choice as of now. The draw, we'll see what happens with the draw. Let's go to the classic, Dermosotogake, Forever Young, and Ushba. I'm going to be very brief with myself. Forever Young is one of my plays of the entire weekend. I know the value might not be there. If I had 4 or 5 to 1, I'm going to be very happy. It's a very difficult race. You could talk about either one of those three in any particular order, Michael, here as we'll wrap up the show in about 6 or 7 minutes. Just let everyone know.
Oh, good. Let's see. Forever Young is probably the most talented of the three. He's still an unfurnished unit. He's still got room to grow. It was very, very good of him to come back after 5 months and fall to his nose at the start and still win for fun, going 1.25 miles over deep ground last time. And these were decent horses. These were proper grade 2 level, grade 3 level horses in the States that he ran against. So, you know, he's earned his flowers here. And I would love for him to win this race. He doesn't offer a lot of value. I thought he was the best horse in the Kentucky Derby. I'll take that to the grave. You know, in the end, I think that if they all ran in a straight line and didn't smack each other around, he would have won.
Yeah. Dermosotogake is I've never gotten a great read on this horse. He's run big races, but he just has trouble winning, is the bottom line.
He's interesting because he's probably the best value of all the Japanese this week. He's already proven himself to ship over here and run well. He kind of got lost out there. Apparently, you know, there were comments afterwards that he's just not focusing, and he wasn't fit enough at the same time. So he's a lot fitter now, and they're putting blinkers on him. We'll see where he draws today. Okay. I think he's one of those horses who is quick enough. If they wind up asking him, he can go directly to the front and play catch me if you can. And do remember, the last 2 winners of this race have gone gate to wire. So I'm playing a sneaky little flat win bet on him as a saver in my back pocket, just in case this happens, because I will not let a UAE Derby winner beat me in this race. And he is classy. He is as good as any horse in the race. He's just, on paper, he is deplorable in these last few runs, and you can't love it. He had excuses in all of them. He had a foot excuse in Dubai where they cut it too small, they cut it too short on him, and it was stinging him a little bit. And he was not fit enough after missing a prep in Saudi, and he used that to fit himself up the same way he did the year before. So yeah, if you put lines through those runs, then you got to believe he is here with a vengeance. And
yeah,
I think he's very much a very good horse. He always has been. It's just a matter of getting it right.
He's only 4, so we'll see. As opposed to Ushba Tesoro, who's coming up on 8 years old. This horse has won $16 million US, and I think he's won like 6 or 8 million this year without winning a race. But when you're running in $10 million races, 7-digit races, finishing second, you collect a lot of money. I know he's been a little bit goofy in the morning. He had an issue with his rein this morning. I'm sure you heard about that. I don't think it was a soundness issue. It was just something weird with his equipment that I saw earlier today. If the race falls apart or if it's very quick, which is possible, this one's going to come running. He is good enough. I still wonder about the age factor, though. Maybe that's just silly, Michael, but I'm not sure he's got the upside as some others here, like Forever Young.
I spoke to Yuga Kawada this morning, and he was pretty confident in the horse. I mean, he actually showed me the video of what happened. He's like, "You see this?" And I was like, "Are you worried?" He's like, "No, he'd be fine." And the key that he kind of pointed out is that the rider immediately got back on him, finished the exercise in the morning, and didn't ruin the horse's routine.
Okay.
So the horse is mentally still there, which is the key when they freak out a little bit like that, because he was breathing really heavy while it was happening. But they got him calmed down and got him through it. He's the most reliable horse in the race. I mean, he and Sierra Leone are the most reliable. They will come running types. But out of the two, I'm going to take the horse who's earned $16 million and done it all the way across the world to run really well into my top three. I cannot see him out of the top three. I just can't. He's if he's not in the top three by the finish line, he'll probably still be in front by the turn.
Right.
Do you know after the finish?
I think he's a great horse to use underneath personally, but I to win, I'm a little bit skeptical, but I have a lot of respect for him. Let's go to a certain behemoth. Let's go to a behemoth, Michael, that apparently weighs like 1,300 pounds in the sprint. You got Don Frankie and Remake. Don Frankie, this is a nice double, combination here. Don Frankie's going to show a ton of speed. Remake's going to come from behind, and then after that, we'll finish with the Breeders' Cup the mile horses in the from Japan with Geoglyph and 10 Happy Rows. What do you make of Don Frankie quickly, Michael?
Big chance. Huge chance in this race. He might be the speed of the speed, even with the American horses like Skelly, etc. in there, who are going to be very quick. Don Frankie is all speed. I mean, he outsped Tuz and plenty of horses in Dubai, and that was a very fast race. 110 at Maidan is flying because there's no run out. That's the equivalent of about 108 and 0.5, 108 and 2.
Yeah.
So, he ran very well that day. Christian DeBio probably should have shut the door on Tuz on the inside, but he's, he didn't want to get days. So. Right.
Of course.
So yeah. One thing also to factor into this, he is a big horse. This is going to be the widest gate he's ever stood in. So he'll finally fit in the gate, which will be nice. And I just feel like he'll be very, very tough from the front. If he gets to the front, he's going to intimidate a lot of horses up there.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of company up there, though, Michael. Remake is a horse I am very, very interested in, more than Don Frankie, just because the pace situation. He's honest. He's a closer. It might set up for him. He might be a tad slower than some others, but this horse always runs, and, he got a nice prep. It was a great Group 3. It wasn't anything special, but I think it's a perfect setup for this race. I think this horse is very likable, probably around 8-10 to 1 in this race.
Yeah, and I mean, he reeled in Jasper Crone, who's one of the fastest 4.5 furlong horses in the world. So it's, it was a very, very good prep over left-handed course, deeper surface, ran 110 and 1 quite quick there. His two duds in the Shaheen have been a little bit worrying, where he kind of just bowled along. My worry is that I think he likes a little bit of deeper surface. I mean, he might well win here and prove me wrong, and that'd be great because he's fun to watch train. He's a good horse. He's a great international superstar. But I keep on pointing back to the fact that whenever he's had sort of a more trimmed surface, dirt surface that isn't that deep, he doesn't perform as well. So it'll be interesting. Maybe the 2 months off will be better than the month off he had between Dubai and Saudi and Dubai. That was a factor. But to me, out of the two, I'll take Don Frankie because you'll get twice the price and a horse will love this surface. His mother won a Grade 1 over this surface, and we miss Frankie. She won the debutante here and was third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. But I just Remake is a great horse. He'll come running, but he's a solid 4th place to me.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to see how the track plays because it played very quick and speed fading over the summer. I don't know if you've gotten any buzz that the track has been slowed down a little bit or it's deeper. Have you heard anything at all, since you've been there about the track surface from the trainers or jockeys?
I have not, but I know that everybody on Thursday when we have racing without the Breeders' Cup is going to be watching it intently.
Me too, because I'll be there, Michael. So
I think but it's still Del Mar. The stretch is still about 10 feet long. It's still going to favor speed, as it were, and horses that really run turns well.
For sure. All right, Michael, I know you got to get to the draw, so let's quickly go
Okay.
through a horse that you're actually very interested in the mile, and that's Geoglyph. We also have 10 Happy Rose. Here's the PPs on Geoglyph. Go ahead and talk about this talented horse by DeFrong out of a which is out of Geoponte, which is interesting. Or by Geoponte, excuse me.
Out of two horses who have run great races, he's a Drafong. Drafong won the sprint here.
Right.
He won it at Santa Anita. This horse is a multi-surface sort. He is classy. He beat, one of the greatest horses that I've ever seen in Equinox, over 10 furlongs. But while he's probably better over 9 furlongs, the mile here might be nice if he gets a low draw today. It's absolutely vital that he can tuck himself in and save ground. And if he gets that, he's gonna be top 4 in this race. I feel like he's right there because his kick is it's damn good when he's on song. So, while I think Notable Speech runs his race, it'll take a wrecking ball to knock him down out of first place. But this son of Drafong, Geoglyph, is going to be what, 20-1?
Like, he's gonna be a big price. This is the race of the weekend, Michael. I cannot wait for this race.
Oh, it's so good.
There's really good American horses too. This is a loaded mile. Really.
Yeah,
exciting.
I mean, and if anybody, and on the other side of it, you have, of course, like Well, who, if she unleashes the same kick she did 4 weeks ago, she's right there as well.
Whoa.
10 Happy Rose is probably the worst horse to watch train in the morning. But we were warned of that before, that she's just very high maintenance. She runs around, she does her own thing. Remember that she won the Victoria Mile, as you can see. She's 207-1 on there, and she was, I think, on track she was about 100 and something to 1.
Wow.
But it was a big shock there. She won the Victoria Mile. She's asking a lot. She has no real chance. But I would love to see her run well, but I just think they're taking advantage of a winning your in stipend to get here, and more power to them.
There you go, Michael. Last question, we'll let you go, and we really appreciate being on the show again. If there's one horse you fancy or like to punt on a horse this weekend that is from Japan, value included in that question, who would it be?
See, that's really tough. But I would say, for me, if I'm putting my money down, it's probably going to be a big old each way bet on either Roshan Park or Geoglyph. I think that they're just going to run big. There are a lot of them in there. As far as a win bet, the most likely winner of them all, probably American Bikini.
Wow, I like it.
I think that it's not a good race. It's not the toughest Juvenile Fillies.
We understand. You just insulted trainers all over the world right now.
International. Okay. I mean, the filly, Abreu's filly, could run that race again and win. Frizette fillies have done really well here in the last 3 years. Two of the last 3 years they've won. But yeah, I think American Bikini, she goes to the front. I could see her wiring this field pretty handily.
Terrific. Michael, once again, really appreciate. Congratulations on the recent marriage. By the way, many happy years together. And we'd love to have you back on the show sometime when we got some more time. We do cover Dubai and Saudi, etc. And so we'll get you back on in the spring. So for myself and Michael Adolphson of Dubai Racing TV and wears many other hats, of course, is your host, Howard Kravets of the HHH Racing Podcast with the Japanese entrance, as we say on the show, Michael, crush your bets with those Japanese horses at the Breeders' Cup. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.